So what's happening right now with the Federal Reserve rate cuts is that this is setting us up for the rest of the bull market, or the final phase of the bull market. In my opinion, this is the final phase. It's going to get crazy. Just listen to this. Okay, so the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 25 basis points as expected. What's the big deal about this? It's devaluing the dollar. Okay, so a lot of people, they'll spend hours and hours and hours telling you what exactly is going to be happening with the economy during rate cuts. I'm going to cover this within like 5 minutes. Okay, everything you need to know. Now, Jerome Powell says the Federal Reserve can no longer say the job market is solid, just as I've been saying the entire time since these tariffs came about, and actually before that. But the economy is clearly in a horrible position. I'm going to cover this more. So the Federal Reserve signaled that it expects to deliver 2 more rate cuts later this year. And what is that going to do? It's going to devalue the dollar. Now, look at this chart of the dollar that happened when the Federal Reserve came and cut these interest rates. The dollar just plummeted. All right, so the dollar's actually right now as I speak, it's under 97. The DXY, it's a basket of currencies, it is 97. That is very low. And as JP Morgan said, like I covered this a couple of days ago, that JP Morgan said that we'd expect around 3 to 5% drop in the US dollar over time. I think that's very conservative in my opinion. And what loves monetary inflation and a devaluation of the US dollar? Not the middle class. Bitcoin does. Bitcoin thrives off this. This is why we've seen since 2009 Bitcoin going from under a cent to $124,000. There's a reason for that, guys. It's because we are in a long-term destruction of the United States dollar. Okay, it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens over time. And now people think, okay, the US dollar is going to be destroyed. No, it's going to be morphed into something else, as I've covered before. I can cover it again, not in this video though. I got more things of what Jerome Powell said. So he says the Federal Reserve doesn't fuel the need to move quickly on interest rates cuts. Now, yeah, he kind of is doing that because he cut 25 basis points and there wasn't widespread support at all for a 50 basis point cut today. This was a risk management cut. No, this is a destruction of the US middle class and poor people. This is just destroying them, because if people get excited that there's a rate cut, but those people don't understand that there's people that are going to suffer big time for that. I just showed you a chart of the US dollar dropping like a rock. That is going to continue. What do you think that does to the middle class that don't own inflation hedges? It's great for us, but it sucks for them, and that's only going to continue. And the whole point of this is, actually, I'm going to cover what the whole point of this is, all right, of why they're just destroying the middle class. So let's go over some key points here. Unemployment rate has risen along with downside risk to unemployment. Yes, both are true, and both have been happening for a very long time. The Federal Reserve they send Jerome Powell. Whenever I say Jerome Powell, just think a puppet for the Federal Reserve. The real owners, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and a couple other people. It is a privately owned organization. Trump doesn't have any say what is going on in the Federal Reserve. I hope you understand that. If you don't know, read a great book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. You'll learn all about the Federal Reserve. You're not going to learn that in school. Okay, so now inflation has risen and remains somewhat elevated. Really? Somewhat elevated, huh? Okay, I've just proved that wrong. Inflation is rampant right now. Growth in economic activity has moderated. That's an understatement. Job creation rate is below the break-even rate to avoid rising unemployment. They're not going to be able to stop that. Unemployment is going to rise so fast, you're not even going to believe your eyes in the future. We have tariffs, which, bring it back manufacturing. Nobody's going to be doing manufacturing, by the way. It's going to be robotic. It's going to take 4 to 5 years to at least create these manufacturing plants. And you also have tariffs as well, which is causing people to take out loans to buy like pizza. You know what I mean? So this is absolutely crazy. So we also have near-term inflation expectations have moved up on tariffs. Yeah, that's an understatement as well. It's gone absolutely crazy. The effects of tariffs on the US economy remains to be seen. No, it doesn't remain to be seen. If you've been watching this show, you know for a fact that the tariffs are absolutely destroying the US consumer, at least the middle class and the poorer class, because they don't have inflation hedges. Like, that's really sad. Okay, so now we also have Powell said he hopes 2% inflation is achieved by 2028. 2%? Guys, they're printing $1 trillion every like 80 days now. What do you think it's going to be by the time 2028 comes around? This is why the Genius Act is setting the rails for the CBDCs or stablecoins, whatever. That is what's going to be happening. It's going to help administer help to other people, giving stimulus checks in the forms of stablecoins. Everybody's going to have their government wallet, and they're going to be able to give money to people that can't afford anything, because most of the US economy is only like being run now by the top wealthiest, like 15 to 20%. I think that's the last thing I read on that. So no, it's not the middle class much anymore, okay? And it's definitely not the poor class. So this is what is happening. There's going to be universal basic income. Expect it. It is coming. Now, nobody really knows where the economy will be in 3 years. That's what Powell said. I know exactly where the US economy is going to be. It's going to be in the trash can. That is guaranteed 100%. There's nothing anybody can do. You cannot vote your way out of this. What you can do is watch it, share this video with many people as you can to help people understand about inflation, because most of these YouTube channels out there, they do not teach you about inflation. Sorry, they don't talk about the Federal Reserve how they should be talking about the Federal Reserve. They just care about whatever the Federal Reserve Fed mouth talks about, which is complete lies. First off, you get the truth from understanding the Federal Reserve, why they were created in the first place. So let's go over the last thing that I wanted to cover with the Federal Reserve. Chair Powell said this: risks to inflation are tilted to the upside, obviously, and risks employment are tilted to the downside. So we're having inflation's going up and employment is going down. A challenging situation, another creative way to say stagflation. So what is going to be happening? I can tell you exactly what's going to be happening. You are going to have pressure on the US dollar. You're going to have stimulus checks because people are losing their jobs left and right. And you're also going to have rampant currency inflation that is guaranteed to happen like you've never seen before. If you thought the 2020, 2021 currency monetary policy back then, which was printing what, 86% of all US dollars was created within a couple years of that time. That's nothing, people. I'm just letting you know that this is setting the US up for an absolute frenzy of currency printing like you've never seen before. And there's one answer to this, is teaching as many people as you can about Bitcoin, because guys, this is the only way out, other than like if you have real estate, if you have other inflation hedges. But we all know the best inflation hedge, which you like real estate, you're getting you have to pay property taxes, so you never really own your real estate, do you? Because if you buy a house outright and you don't pay your property taxes, guess what's going to happen? They're going to take your property away. But if you buy Bitcoin, which is an even better inflation hedge than any real estate, I mean, you're pretty much set, because you don't have to pay property taxes on that. And it's great. And depending on what jurisdiction you're in, it can be tax-free. So good stuff. Anyways, check out learningcrypto.com if you want to see what we're buying, when we're selling, when we are selling. Okay. Keep in mind, we are at the end of the bull market. All right, guys, talk to you soon.